Hi everyone, welcome to the TriEssence martial art channel. And today we finally got Eric back from his long sick days, right? Right. So we can carry on talking about Taichi. So a little while back, I had this comment on my video on repulsed monkey, and the guy says that it is very bad to let somebody into the inner gate or the center line. And at that point, I realized that some of the viewers out there might not actually understand what Taichi actually wants. So in this video, we're going to basically just briefly talk about how Taichi approaches combat and what makes Taichi unique and different to the conventional Chinese martial arts. So when talking about Taichi combat, there are two principles that are very, very important. I mean, I can go through the entire Taichi classic, but that takes too long. So in a nutshell, there are two very, very important concepts, right? The first concept is that you move second, but you reach first. So in the Chinese language, we call it 后发先至. 后发 means to move second. 先至 means to reach first. And that is a very important concept. Now, some people who know the Taichi classic might not wonder, because that kind of contradicts with what is said in the Taichi classic, right? In Taichi classic, the whole verse talking about how conventional martial arts is about strong beating the weak, fast dominating the slow. But Taichi is not about that. And obviously, if you take that on face value of those words, it's supposed to mean that Taichi doesn't want speed, they want to do everything slow. But if you think about it logically and rationally, that can't be true. Because in any normal circumstance, if the guy is faster than you are going to lose, right? I mean, if he throws a punch and he hits you before you can do something, it doesn't work. So clearly that verse in Taichi classic can't be interpreted as Taichi doesn't want speed. What it should be interpreted as is that Taichi don't want blind speed, it doesn't want fundamental speed. What that means is Taichi isn't about how much faster you are compared to that guy. It's not about how I can hit him so far that he can't hit back. Rather, it's a relative speed, right? And that's where this first concept comes in. 后发先至. I let him move, and I move second. At which point, it's not about my pure speed, but my relative speed. Can I reach him before he reaches me? And why do I want to move second and not first? Right, this then goes back to the video where we talk about the dueling adequacy, right? That's where everything kind of gels together. Given the condition of back in the days and how masters in Beijing, particularly where Taichi flourished, engage in dueling adequacy, we know that it is not a sparring like we have today, where you go back and forth, left and right, and you fight out for like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, depending on the agreement. It's just 3 moves. And within the 3 moves, you get penalized if you just step back. Okay, so there are some cases where if I evade and hit back, it's valid, but I can't just, whatever he do, I'm going to move back. When he's done with his attack, I'm going to come in with my attack. It doesn't allow that. So, how do you secure a quick, easy win if you only have 3 moves or 1 combo to basically make it happen? Therefore, in Taichi, the solution becomes, I want him to hit me first, and when he's hitting me, he's not going anywhere, right? If he's just standing there in a fighting position, and I come here and I want to hit him, he can move back. Obviously, back in the day, that would be penalized. But still, it doesn't do me any good either. So I don't want to let him move back. So the best way to go around that is to let him hit me first, and that moment he's not going anywhere. But the trick is, if he's hitting me first, I need something that I can neutralize his attack and hit him at the same time. So that's where this concept of 后发先至, right? I move second, I let him move first, but I'm going to reach him first. We're going to go into how that is achieved just in a bit, right? The second concept is important. Is from the Taichi 打手歌, right? Which is it's like a verse that talks about push hand and sparring. In that verse, there's a sentence that goes, 引进落空合计出. Right? So what that roughly means is 引 means to lure or to allow, 引进落空. So I let him do what he wants, but I let it land on emptiness or land on nothing, right? Another way people like to describe this in Taichi is that, you put a rug under his feet and you pull the rug from under and he just falls. Or like, my master would say is, you let him hold onto something and suddenly you flip that board and then he loses balance. So that's the idea behind 引进落空. So you allow the person to exert force or whatever he wants, but you let him miss. So for that moment, he loses initiative, he loses balance, and he's not going anywhere, he can't retreat. 合计出, and then that's when you use 合, right? It's a Chinese word for closing or combining. It refers to both technique and body mechanics. So you let him come in, you let him miss, lose balance or control initiative, and then you combine your own mechanic to hit him. 引进落空合计出. So we combine these two principles together and we re-look at Repulse Monkey, you see why I want him to take the center line. Because if I don't, let's say he attacks me and I said, get away from me, then what I'm doing is I'm giving him a feeding back that then he can just retreat. Because I'm already pushing him away. And if I do like a conventional block and then try to hit him, again, it basically allows him a moment to basically react and move away or to do something else. The only way to ensure that he thinks he's getting his way is to let him into my space and feel like he's going to actually hit me. And then as he's going to hit me, of course, this isn't done in the last second because it happens really fast. But the result of this hand going this way would basically make him miss in the last moment. I'm not stopping him from extending his arm. I'm not doing a lot of massive motion that that disrupt him. I'm letting his first do what he does and only knocking out slightly off the center. So the end result is he missed. And in doing so, I initiate the second. He had to make a punch first, but I reach him first. Okay. Same with the other hand. No, I mean my other hand.
Okay.
So when he punches, so he first punch, I move second, but both of my hands reaches first. Okay. So that basically correlates to 后发先至. Move second, reach first. And 引进落空, basically I let him. So I'm not repelling him or moving him away. I'm letting him do what he does, but miss just a little bit. And in doing so, if he injected his own momentum, he's going to lose balance. But even if not, because no one really, punch like this, okay? But even if not, it's not a big deal because for that split second, I slightly destabilize him. And that slight bit of pulling allows me to hit him at the same time. And while not perfect, it somehow gives me an advantage on hitting him. Compared to if he just throw a punch and I just tap it, that is not as disruptive as he does a punch and I do that. So that basically gives me a bit more disruption, allow me to hit him. So that is how you should make sense of Taichi application. To look, is the move allowing the person in, but making him miss or hit air or basically, hold on to something that flips. And secondly, am I moving second, but reaching first? These two are very important qualities or requirements that you should use to analyze any proposed Taichi application. This is what makes Taichi unique in its own, type of martial art approach. And again, right, if you look at single whoop, although it's less apparent, it's essentially a similar thing. Now, I've talked about how you can initiate with single whoop and forcing a reaction. But traditionally, that is not the way of Taichi. But you see, these things are not set in stone. So when I say Taichi's approach favors going second but reaching first, it doesn't mean you absolutely can't attack first. It's just that the style itself prefers that. And when judging a Taichi mechanic or Taichi application, we have to judge it based on these requirements. Right? But if you're out there fighting somebody, it's perfectly fine if you want to hit first. But if you follow the guideline of Taichi and moving second, then he will be making an attack first. And when he's making an attack, again, I'm moving second, but my hand will reach his arm first before his arm reaches my body. So that's how Taichi kind of overcomes the issue of speed. You don't have to be faster, you just have to have the right mechanic. But of course, you still have to be fast enough, right? If you're completely slow, you're going to lose the fight. There's no way around it. But I don't have to be faster than him. I just have to be fast enough so that before he hits me, I can intercept his hand. And when I do so, again, this is slightly different to the previous one where you just kind of make him off target. But I'm still creating a disruption that draws him into me, right? I'm not putting him away. And that goes with 引进落空. And that basically then allows the second hit, right? Obviously, if I'm doing single word, I'll be on this hand. So, and that's basically how it works. So again, so you can also then simplify this concept, well, not simplify, you can basically synthesize it into four things that's been talked about in some Taichi lineages, like the Wang Peisheng lineage stresses this a lot, right? For example, what they basically say is you have contact, which is 接 contact, 化 dissolve, 拿 seize, and 发 issue. So these are the four stages that you use to judge any Taichi approach. And in this case, what it means is 接 is basically me making contact, right? It's just an arbitrary initial stage to make contact. 化 is when I dissolve his force. You see, dissolve often have this mystical connotation where, you know, like someone hits you and then the force just dissipates without you doing anything. But it's actually more generalized than that. It just means that I'm basically rendering his force pointless with my move. So in this case, he's having a straight force, I'm drawing a circle that basically neutralizes that incoming force. So that's the 化 part. However, 化 need to come to 拿. Sometimes people like to, you know, to take the for the face value of that word, right? 拿 means to seize. So they were thinking, you know, 拿 means I need to hold him and then hit him. But that's actually not practical. And I've talked about in past videos why you can't expect to do joint locks on people in a fight. It's almost near impossible unless you get into the ground where the movement is restricted. Standing up, we have whole room to move around. Almost impossible to seize joint lock. The correct interpretation in Taichi for 拿 is basically to seize his balance. And this seize of balance is not that you completely uproot him forever, right? That's kind of what you see in demos of Taichi, where the master would like, you know, have hand touch here, and his student would apply a force, and then the master would like kind of do something, and the student will basically tiptoe up, and then they call that seize. What that is seize is not a practical one, right? In a fight, you don't expect that to actually happen. Seize happens very briefly. It just gives you a small window of opportunity to attack. So in this case, with a single word, if I'm just doing a regular parry, that will be considered as 化 because I dissolved his force coming in. He's coming this way, I'm going to do that, and I allow to hit, then I can hit him. But that is not seize. Seize basically means that I need to have more body mechanic, where then affect his balance. So when he does the punch, I'll be like that. So it looks like just a bigger movement, right? But what's important is that when I'm doing that, his body is affected, right? I mean, you feel the difference, right?
Yes, yeah.
Between like just a casual parry and one where you do that.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of push a little forward, and there's a moment where you're not going to be able to react if I just hit you right away. And you know, and obviously this is not. Next, I'm going to just let him take his arm and just, you know, tighten it up, right? So this isn't how a fight going to be. You're not going to throw a punch like tighten up, but this is to show you what kind of force we're talking about when we're using seize. So not actually punch like this, but this is to demonstrate that if you just use a regular parry, then this will happen. This is when you're not seizing his balance. What we talk about in seizing is basically use the body mechanic, right? The four fundamental forces: compression, expansion, rotation, and create an effect that looks like this. So that pull, that basically create a disruption in his balance and also in his focus. That's what in Taichi is called seize. Of course, there are different variations depending on the move, but in single word, that's pretty much it. So he feels the force, but he's unable to react for a brief moment, and that's when you hit him. Now, another way to demonstrate this is basically in my lineage we have a very classic test where the guy holds the two roots. Now keep in mind this is not a combat approach. This is purely just to test a structural force for instruction and learning purpose, right? In a real fight, no one's gonna hold your wrist like this. But basically, if he's basically holding my wrist and he's pushing in, then initially this is how it is, right? And then basically this is connect, the dissolve goes like this, and then seize goes like that, and then back goes like this. So it's a very internal process when it comes to purely contact and without an application. But you feel the difference, right?
Yeah.
From the regular, I'm just pushing against you, to when I start, right? So you keep pushing the same force, right? To dissolve, right? You feel that.
Yeah.
And then ceasing, when I dissolve and I connect with you, and it allow me to do far, which basically can affect you. You notice that change of internal structure.
Yeah.
So that will be what they will refer to as a higher level of the four phases, where you contact, you dissolve, you cease, and you issue. The problem with this is it doesn't always happen like this, right? In a fight, everything goes messy. You don't expect a guy to neatly come and hold your wrist, and then doesn't allow me to basically issue force. It's not like that. People are gonna throw punches, and punches are gonna be thrown and gonna get pulled back. So you only have a split moment to apply this, which is why, if you look at the demo of a master, it looks very clean. But more often than not, those masters don't actually do well in a fight. They'll get into a ring and they'll just get knocked out. It's because they believe this is the only way to do these four stages, but it's not, right? When you apply it in an actual application, like in single work, then the entire thing looks more like I'm just having more force, I'm just stronger than him. It doesn't look like I'm uprooting the guy and then sending him out. But still, the mechanic is there. I'm still doing contact, and I'm dissolving and seizing. It's just that, when you do it in a split of a moment, it doesn't look the same. So fundamentally, that's what sets Taichi apart from other Chinese martial arts, especially external styles. Is that everything that we do, when we make contact, we try to create a disruption in his balance. Whether it is a very obvious disruption, like when in a push hand kind of scenario, or when it's in a fighting, it's a very brief disruption. It is a disruption nonetheless. And the more disruption I have, the easier it is allowing me to hit him. So let's go back to the single work, right? If I'm just doing like a regular kind of parry, it's still valid, right? I mean, boxers and people, they use it all the time. There's nothing wrong with this. But if I do a parry, and then he basically gets a minor disruption, but he can go back and be on the defense. If I'm doing like a parry and a jab, right? So if he punches, and then he can also then do a parry. So again, nothing wrong with it. You see bosses and other martial art people do it all the time. Occasionally, I also tend to do this if I'm not confident on catching his entire weight. I also kind of parry short, and then find opportunity. So nothing wrong with it. I'm just trying to show you the difference between if you just parry for the move over if I'm actually trying to affect his balance. There's more investment in Taichi because I'm trying to affect his balance. I can't affect his balance by doing a move like that. I have to kind of, even if I don't swing the arm out big, I still kind of have to do that. And that is more investment. And that's why Taichi doesn't seem to do well in the modern day context, because people who do traditional Taichi, they only know how to fight with full investment, right? Trying to uproot somebody's balance and disrupt someone's structure. So when they meet someone that isn't invested and is just dancing around with jabs and moving around, they can't catch up. And again, right, if you look at the dueling efficacy from back in the day, you understand why. Back in the days, we don't fight moving around. It's like, two people face off each other. He makes a move, I don't even retreat. They're gonna come in and they're gonna hit him. So, and that's why, when you're not fighting in this context, a lot of these approaches don't necessarily work. But this is probably gonna be another topic, right? How you can adapt Taichi to modern day sparring. But in this video, I'm just trying to explain how traditional Taichi goes, how they approach fighting, and this is basically the requirement. You let somebody in, you take the balance, and then you hit them, and you more often than not move second and reach first. Once you understand these two things, then you understand what Taichi is all about. So I hope this video has made sense to you. And if you find the video interesting, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you can support me on Patreon, that'll be greatly appreciated. As always, a big shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for supporting me and allowing me to continuously making videos, this free content that benefit the community in general, right? It's because of my Patreon supporters. So thank you guys so much.
And a special shout out to new Patreon supporters Donovan, Kung Fu Fan, Dave Tai. Thank you guys so much for joining my Patreon family and hope you enjoy your stay here. Feel free to message me anytime for questions on current content or suggestions for future content. I have an extended list of Patreon exclusive videos where I explore internal martial art mechanics using the perspectives of science. So if you're interested in understanding internal martial arts through the lens of science, do consider becoming a Patreon supporter.
Thanks for watching TriEssence Martial Art channel, and I'll see you next time.